Podcast Friday, right, Justin?
That's right. Who we got?
You know we got Stephen Baum here, man.
Yeah.
You know we got Rock Solid Home Inspections.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate being here.
Yeah, we love having you
Yeah.
here.
Definitely.
Yeah, love having you here.
Rock Solid Home Inspections has been a company that I have used since I moved back here in 2012.
Yeah.
And I remember, just starting my sales career here from when I was working in Naples. And I'm like scrambling, going in my office at that time, like, all right, who we got? We got to get an inspector going. We got Rock Solid Home Inspections. They'll be good for you.
Yeah.
Swear to God, used you for 8 years.
There you go.
Yeah.
Love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Love to hear that.
Yeah.
And, you guys, the way that you do everything, and I know we're going to get into it, but the professionalism, the people that go out there and actually do the inspections, the reports are incredible, the timeliness, the process, the customer service.
It's all that value, right?
Right.
Yeah.
It is.
There we go.
100%. Right. And the customer.
Yeah.
You stay very focused on the customer, which we'll get into that, right?
Okay.
There's plenty of time for that. But before we get into that, so let's talk about little Stevie. You growing up and your family and
The
all
hellion.
that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. I'm
Don't say
exact
anything that won't be
opposite
there
of that.
forever.
Really?
Yeah, right? Oh, yeah, definitely. So my wife and I are high school sweethearts.
Nice.
So I've
awesome.
been married 23 years. I have two
Congrats.
girls. So that whole hashtag daddy girl thing, that is all me right now.
Really?
I am like volleyball coach, volleyball soccer mom driver.
Right.
Actually coaching the softball team. So that's something new for me this year. But
That's awesome.
I'm all about that
That's so cool.
daddy life. And yeah, I am not a hellion at all. No. And actually I'm a realtor's worst nightmare. We've lived in our house for 20 years.
That's crazy.
So there's no realtor listening to this or watching this calling me to see about buying or selling.
Man,
the home.
they just turned the
They turned it
podcast off.
Yeah, they're like, Flip, we don't need that guy. He's no good.
He may provide value, but not to me.
Who are you putting on your show? Who are you putting on your show?
I need flippers. I need
Yeah,
people who move every year.
That's right. Once a year at least.
So yeah, so hellion is not definitely in my dictionary.
Even
It's
growing
definitely-
up, like as a kid, tell us about your childhood growing up and stuff.
Right, because you actually skipped over that. That's where we said we'd start, and you're like, no, I'm a
No,
good guy
we go
now.
we go right to.
He married his wife at 8 years old.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. So grew up in Western New York. So unfortunately, I'm a Bills fan. Been a long, dry spell.
Right.
Think they got a good team going. So really excited about where that.
Yeah,
Bills
and you had
Mafia.
mentioned that's
Right,
right. And you had
that's
mentioned Lenny earlier.
Yeah.
Lenny is a Bills fan as well. So when we first met, it was like almost kismet, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we were just crying in each other's misery. Right? 4 lost Super Bowls in a row and years without a playoff appearance. So moved down here when I was 11, 12, 13 years old. Local now, St. Pete. Lived my entire life through there.
Cool.
As I said, met my wife in our sophomore year of high school. Both went to USF. Had a daughter who actually is graduating UCF at the end of this year. So
That's
really
gotta
excited
kill you,
about that.
doesn't it?
Oh my gosh, I can't believe the child's 21 and ready to graduate and talking about law school.
Wow.
So
Good for her.
yeah,
Gotta
I know,
be
right?
proud.
Yeah,
Oh yeah,
that's-
it's
yeah.
awesome,
Yeah,
awesome.
that's incredible.
And then we have a second one. She's 14 and she definitely keeps us going. As I just
Yeah.
said, she plays softball, she plays volleyball, she played basketball season as well.
Yeah, that's huge.
So she
Gotta
actually,
keep them busy.
funny quick side story. She just wrote a letter to Senator Scott about they want to do an interview of him.
Right.
And so she was writing this letter and she's putting at the end. And she goes, well, how do I get his attention? I'm like, well, let's see. You're SGA president. You're, principals list. You're on you're NJHS, SGA, volleyball, basketball captains. So she had this laundry list of resume things. And I'm like, all right, you're hired. Whatever you need, let's
Right.
go.
Where does she want to go to school? I mean, she seems like she's
Yeah,
going to be.
where's she
high
going to
school?
pick?
No, college.
College?
'Cause I know she's only 14, but
Yeah,
man.
she actually wants to go to University of Tampa.
Okay.
Wow.
Wow. Well, yeah.
Good.
She wants to stay local, and so
Yeah.
I need more inspections to be able to pay that
was just gonna
tuition.
say.
So please use Rock Solid Home Inspections so I can send my 14-year-old to the University of Tampa.
Well,
Your
podcast is
contribution-
over. We're at the end of what
I know. If I didn't lose you, that I don't buy and sell homes, I just lost you. That I'm trying to pay tuition.
That's the best. Strike 2 if anybody is coming.
That's right. That's right.
That's the funniest thing I've ever heard on here.
Is there any
Call
brutal
me, yeah.
honesty? Yeah, that's right. Here's my phone number.
Yeah, that's right. Just give me a call.
Please.
That's
we
so
have
awesome.
we have Kleenex if you need to try that tear on your eye, right? Because you were selling that pretty hard.
Where is take 2? When did we start the second take of this
No,
podcast?
sir, that's
not-
that's
not how
staying
this
on.
This is raw. This is raw.
Are you kidding me?
I know, right? This is classic right here. I'm
That's
sure.
right. Yeah.
All right. So out of school, You didn't get right into home inspections. What'd you do when you get out of school?
Actually, I started as a part-time teller at Barnett Bank. So anybody,
Barnett
wow.
Bank.
been
Yeah,
here
that's
from
been a
Florida
while.
for a while. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I started as a part-time teller. I went to a job fair. I was actually going to St. Pete Junior College again, taking the local people here back a little bit.
Yeah.
Went to a job fair, and so the lady sits there and tells me, human resource lady, she's like, okay, blah, 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 blah. I said, all right, just stop for 1 second. I'm like, you get weekends off. They didn't work weekends. They stopped working at 5 o'clock. They basically got 1 day off a month nobody else gets except the postman, right? And they paid for her 80% of my school and 80% of my books. And I'm like,
Home run.
I'll be whatever major you tell me to be right now.
Yeah.
I'll be math, business, whatever major. Started as a part-time teller, and when I left after 26 years in finance, I was a senior vice president at Regions Private Wealth Management. So worked my way up from being a part-time teller at Barnett Bank. Actually, only really worked for 2 banks, but Barnett got
Bought by
merged
Bank of America?
with Nations Bank and then Bank of America.
Yeah.
Was there for 13 years. Left to join AmSouth, who merged with Regions, and then left there to purchase, to kind of live my dream of being a business owner.
Nice.
Holy cow.
Nice.
So that process had to be pretty cool. I mean,
Oh,
there's a lot of like interesting stories out there with successful people, and the fact that you started as a part-time teller and moved your way all the way up. Like there's a friend of mine that I know that owns an electrical contracting company in Chicago. He started sweeping the floors.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's how he got in. So
It's about hard work, doing the right thing. Again, we joked earlier about adding value, but every step of the way, there's this saying, especially particularly in banking, they'll work with people they know, like, and trust. And I don't
Right.
totally disagree with that. But if you're not adding value to
Yeah.
every relationship you have in
Completely agree.
life, there's really what's
Yeah,
the point?
right.
Yeah.
So I've always had that mentality that no matter what I'm doing, again, that's why I've been married 23 years, right? I got to add value. I do the dishes, do
Right.
some laundry,
Right.
make sure I'm taking care of that part
Right.
of the equation. But that goes the same thing in business.
Yeah.
You have to add
100%.
value in order to be able to maintain and establish those relationships.
otherwise, it's just a one-way street.
It
Right.
is, definitely.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
Short-term
it's-
relationships.
It's just transactional at that point.
Yeah.
Right.
It's
And-
not about the relationship. It's just about getting through the transaction and getting it done and go ahead and collecting my check and moving on,
Sure.
on to the next one.
And I see that so much in real estate. It's
Oh,
all
yeah.
about building those relationships from the agent to the seller or the agent to the buyer, and then the agent to their affiliations and their partnerships that they have. So
Sure.
you definitely have to have that focus each and
Completely
every day.
agree. Yeah.
So how'd you go from 26 years in the finance industry to owning a inspection company?
Yeah.
So corporate America, I've been through 5
Wanna
mergers.
gather grind.
Just seeing it each and every day, and in wealth management, I'm helping other people manage their wealth.
Their stockpile.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. And I'm thinking,
how'd a lot of them get
I'm
it? Yeah.
thinking, how do most of them get it? And most of them are some type of business owner, entrepreneur. And so I didn't really have a necessarily idea to come out with the next great, next great invention.
Right.
And so I just did some research. I had connections in the business world, and I did some research and found some areas that strengths of mine over the years have been, marketing, always growth mentality. I always want to help people grow. I want to help companies grow. Did that when I was a area executive in Regions Bank.
Right. Yeah.
So just kind of took that and said, okay, sales is something that's strong for me. So where would those fit? So when I met a business broker and we were talking, he goes, okay, well, what are your strengths? I said, well, I've been in finance for 26 years. I can add.
Yeah.
Right.
And he's like, okay, great. You can do math. He's like, everybody can, I get a 5th grader who can do math. What else can you do? And so that's where that whole mentality of, and so then we met some companies, did some interviewing, and I had met Rock Solid Home Inspections, saw some great opportunity for growth, saw what they were doing. One of the things that really drew me to them was they have they work with the city of Tampa, or we now work with the city of Tampa, in the city of Clearwater, where they're an official inspector for their rehabs. So
nice.
giving back to that community, we recently last year worked with
I
the
didn't
city
either.
of
That's huge.
last year worked with the city of Largo to start helping them as well. Started working with Habitat for Humanity, which was really exciting on their rehab part. Unfortunately, they're doing a little bit of pullback on the rehab part. They're more focused on their building of. But those type of community involvement things really were important to me.
Right.
Was excited about that. Last year, we adopted a family with the Police Athletic League. Something new there. I knew somebody on the board wanted to do something different than just the normal adoptive families. First time a corporation ever reached out to them. So they were really excited. A lot of the times their police officers had done something like that.
How was that the first time?
I know.
That's crazy.
I know. So, but the great thing is we had posted it on our Facebook, and 2 or 3 other businesses reached out to them. So
Yeah,
just to
that's
be able
huge.
to start something like that again. So
Domino effect a little bit.
so that community involvement that I saw from Rock Solid really, inspired me to that I thought it was a great marriage.
Right.
I really did. And it's been 14, 15 months now, and it's been awesome. It really has.
That's
So,
so
before we go any farther, so if somebody wants to get into that with the Police Athletic League, what do they need to do? Is there a certain person to contact? How do they get that going?
Actually, I don't know his information off the top of my head, but if you just want to give me a call, I'd be happy to hook you up with them. One of the great things when I went over there was the time and effort and energy that these officers put into making
absolutely.
sure,
Yeah, 100%.
that they're able to help the next generation. And we hear it all the time. It is going to be the next generation. And look where every generation. I was at a meeting yesterday, and they were talking about the Roaring '20s of 1920, right?
Right.
And they were talking about innovation. It was a car.
Yeah.
It was every house was going to have an appliance.
Right.
And it's like, oh my gosh, 100 years later. 100 years is only 2 generations, right? That was my grandparents.
Right.
Yeah.
And now look at us.
Right.
So where is this generation and then the next 2 generations going to take us?
Absolutely.
So, let's focus on them and let's give them every opportunity to be as successful as we are.
Love it.
So
Absolutely
yeah. So
right.
if you
It
just
is.
want to, I'm sure
And-
I'll give some information on contact.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
if you
you
just
will.
want to reach out to me, I'd be happy to hook anybody up with our partnership.
And I'd let you give the phone number now, but I want people to watch to the end of this.
Of course.
So we'll give the phone
Well, it's
number.
been
at
so
the end.
riveting. I
That's
can't
right.
imagine why they wouldn't watch to the
I
end.
know, right? Well, we're on strike too. I'm just going
I
to
know,
point
right?
out.
I'm just trying to make contact now, right? I'm just a contact hitter right this minute.
Just a base.
There's
Just a
nothing wrong with
base.
that.
Steve.
If you throw it inside, I'm gonna just take one on the elbow and just go to first.
Let's remember in baseball, you only have to be a 300 hitter to be an all-star.
Oh, absolutely.
Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
absolutely.
Go, can you imagine that?
No, it's
3
awesome.
of
No.
10.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
I
was telling
fire
some-
agents that get 3 out of 10 listings.
I mean, my inspectors would not be in business long. We only
Gotta
got
go,
3 of
guys.
the 10 inspections right.
That's right.
All right, talk to us about Rock Solid Home Inspections. I want to know kind of about the whole group behind everything, how systematically you run everything, because that's the part that I'm most obsessed with is really kind of the back end operation on how you guys are so efficient on everything that you do.
Sure. So we are blessed. We have a wonderful customer service representative. So Aiden is there from 8:30 to 5:30, answering phones, responding to emails,
Huge.
On it.
trying to
Huge.
take anything that comes in and not have to give it to the inspector, because you remember your inspector's out there from 9 o'clock until 5 o'clock doing inspections. So if you call and you have a question on your report, we don't want you to have to wait until 6, 7 o'clock at night. So if it's something that we have a certified master inspector, Vito, who can look at everybody's reports, be able to report back to them and say, hey, this was what was going on, this was what was meant. But if the inspector needs to give them a call back, they will call them back that evening. So just making sure that we're able to, again, add that value of.
But that's awesome. So the inspector, whenever they're looking at a house, you don't want them picking up their phone every 5 minutes and going in the middle
No,
of.
because how many things are they going to miss
That's exactly
on the
right.
home they're at, trying to work on a home they did 2 days ago or whatever.
100%. That's huge.
So from a customer service standpoint, we have online ordering.
Yep.
We have an agent dashboard, so we can actually have an app on the agent's phone where they can go in, they can order an inspection, they can see what's available, they can look at their old inspection reports.
Yeah.
So if we do have buyers who don't either sign or pay the day of inspection, so the next day the agent's expecting their report and they look and they don't have it yet.
Right.
It's like, well, let me go make sure. Sure enough, that wasn't signed for, it wasn't paid for, something like that.
Right.
So they can look at it, let their buyer know, hey, make sure you sign this so we can take a look at the report. Our inspection period is coming up, whatever the case may be. So, from that standpoint, we try and stay on it. Again, it's about that value. You've got to be able to add value to your buyer as well as your agents, because your agents are the
100%.
ones who are just basically running that transaction and just bringing all of their
Right. They're the
herding
project
cats,
manager.
right?
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Herding cats and bringing the inspector to the buyer and the buyer to the appraiser and the bank and all of those things to make sure everybody works in unison. So.
Right.
Well, just the same way that some realtors are extremely good at handling all that there is to be around a realtor. I mean, you guys handle that in terms of the inspection side too. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've seen botched inspections.
Oh, yeah.
Horrible reports, awful professionalism. I mean, our industry, and I'm going to put realtors into this as well. Realtors and inspectors together can bring in people who don't really want to do the job the right way.
Right.
And so when you guys come through, it's like a shining light. I mean, there's an example. There was an agent I was working with in my office, and it was during his inspection period. He's like, Justin, I really want to sit down with you and go over the report. I go, great. I'm used to your guys' reports. Let's just set that there.
Right.
Okay, so I'm expecting that. I'm like, where's the summary page? Okay, that's where I would like to start.
Yep.
Right.
Nothing
ours
like that.
page 3, 4, and 5. Whatever, how many ever
Yeah.
things there were. So
Right.
yeah.
And I would say, I'm not exaggerating, at least 30 or 40% of the words on there were completely misspelled. And the photos look like it was taken from a 1998
Polaroid.
Nokia.
He was,
Right.
Yeah.
he was out there.
Yeah. So, I mean, you truly do get what you pay for sometimes. It's like, oh, you got a $100 inspection? Well, guess what? It's
You get
really
$100
showing
worth.
now.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I
definitely.
mean?
And for us, we want to make sure even one of the things in our reports is color coded.
Yeah. Oh,
red
my God,
and,
it's the best.
Red and green, red pay special attention to. There's some things that you need to make sure that you're looking at as the buyer and the agent that you want to go back to the seller and have some communication with. Gray is kind of, that whole gray area type
Right.
thing, right?
Right.
Hey, there might be something here. Maybe it's just a light bulb's out.
Right.
It could be something as small as that.
Right.
And then green is, hey, everything's good to go.
Yeah.
Move on to the next page.
So you were in Lunchapalooza with us a couple of weeks ago. So one of my buyer's agents was working with the buyer. This came up 2 days ago, and he gave your name for them to use. The guy had a friend that he wanted to use instead.
Yep.
And 2 days ago, my agent calls me up and says, "Hey, this is what's going on." And I said, "No, buyer needs to get in touch with the home inspector and see exactly what's happening because there was some stuff that happened. They closed the house right after they closed the house,
Of course.
Yeah. Hell in a
and,
handbasket.
right, exactly. And the home inspector's comment to the buyer's agent was, "Man, I should have caught that. Man, I should have caught that.
So, a couple things for us as far as that goes, again, about adding value is we have
Man, I
warranties.
should have caught that."
That drives
Yeah.
me crazy.
We have warranties because,
Yeah.
man, I could have caught that could happen to anybody, right?
Right.
We're all human.
Right.
So what can we do to help protect against that? Man, I should have caught
Right.
that. So our warranties are there to help protect that. Our motto is we treat clients like family.
Yeah.
Right.
If it's truly something that I should have caught and it's going to cost, example is we didn't run the heat
Right.
for a buyer that was, I want to say it was like November, or maybe December that we had done the inspection. It wasn't cold yet, right? Today's the only cold day that we've had
Right,
in,
right.
in 2020. So of course there was a cold day last week. He runs the heat. It didn't work. We ran the AC. It worked just fine.
Right.
So he calls me and I said, okay, we have these warranties. I said, call somebody to come out and get it fixed because it's supposed to be cold next week. Don't want you to have to deal with that. It was like $70.
Yeah.
Right.
So I promised him that, look, if the warranty for whatever reason doesn't cover it, I will write you a check back for $70.
Yeah.
Right.
We didn't check the heat because in Florida, we 99% of the time
Right.
don't check the heat.
Yeah.
In the middle of summer, I'm not checking it. So chances are I'm not checking in December on an 80-ish degree day.
Right. Right.
So, we make sure that we follow our motto of treating our clients like family, because if that were any one of my family members that was out $70 on something so small, I'd want to make sure I took care of them.
Sure.
Right.
So, there's exceptions to every rule,
Right.
but that's really what our focus is
Right.
making sure that, man, if we should have caught that,
Right.
we're going to do our best to make sure that we cover for that, man, we should have caught that.
Right.
So, our warranties help cover those type of things as well. It worked
Yeah.
the time of inspection.
Right.
Doesn't it? I left the house this morning and I won't run the air today, but I left the house this morning. The air was working.
Yeah.
I get home, it's not working. It's just not working. It doesn't necessarily mean it had
Right.
anything to do with the inspection.
I
That was
completely
30,
agree.
60,
That's right.
90 days ago.
That's completely right. Yep.
But again, let's have those warranties in place that at least help cover it. You move into a house in June, it's vacant. It's been vacant for 60 days. That seller's not running that air.
Yeah.
Right? So it hasn't ran for 60 days. It's June. It's 98 degrees
yeah.
outside.
It's
First thing you do is you pump it down. Guess what's going to not work?
Right.
The
Yeah.
AC.
That's right.
So, we try and make sure that we can help cover as much as that as we can. And again, it's about value. You've got to add value to the buyer and from an agent standpoint, what a peace of mind that is.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
Right?
absolutely.
I know that
Yeah.
the inspector that I put in front of my buyer is going to do the best they can in a reasonable fashion to make sure they take care of it.
It's all about your ecosystem, like Matt
It
and
is.
I have always
Yep.
talked about. So your
100%.
ecosystem is the ancillary professionals that you have surrounding you that
Right.
complement your business and complement the way that you do things, and that's a perfect example of that.
And look at your customers the same way that you look at your customers.
Yeah.
It's doing the same type of job. It's consistently being focused on value with them, but it's making sure that your ideals and your ethics and your integrity is aligned with
Yeah.
the people that are around you. That way, if something goes wrong, everybody that you're dealing with is going to deal with it the same way that you do.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that's why Justin loves using you. That's why we like having you around. That's why you're at Lunchapalooza all the time. That's why you're at events, all that kind of stuff. Is because we know you look at it the same exact way that we look at it.
Right.
We want the people to use someone that looks from an integrity standpoint at their customer the same way that we do.
Yeah, sure.
So that way, whenever we sit down, we can say things with confidence, and we don't run into the issues with, like we,
And
just
we
ran
know
into
our
the other
market,
day.
right? We know that right now you can't find if you're moving in, you can't find a house less than 6 figures,
Right.
Right.
right? That's a lot of money. It's
Right.
a lot of money for a lot of people.
Right.
Let's make sure we do the best to take care of them from start to finish.
Agreed. Agreed completely.
Here's what I think is a huge key differentiator in what you guys do. A lot of inspection companies focus on, let me try to find as much terrible stuff as wrong with the house. And that is a mindset, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's a mindset going into this house where it's almost a negativity already. It's like, all right, where am I going to pick this place apart? As opposed to the totally different mindset of, how can I provide this customer the utmost value?
Sure. Right.
There's a huge difference in that report. And you can tell the difference when you put them side by side.
Yeah.
The house is the house, right?
Right.
I can't change the house, but what I can change is how I communicate what issues may be there, because not every issue is a huge issue.
Yeah.
Light bulb doesn't work. It's going to go on a report, but it's just another item
Yeah.
Right.
to go through there. And how much does that light bulb take to replace?
Right.
$2,
Right.
$1.50, whatever it might be nowadays. So I think as going through the house and making sure you communicate the level of concern.
Yep.
And then 90% of the time, everything's negotiable.
Yeah.
Right. That's part of the goal, is for us to be able to deliver information to you,
Totally.
and then you be able
Right.
to take that information back to your seller and say, hey, whatever it might be, this seems to be an issue. How do we want to handle it? Do you want to fix it? Do you want to give us a credit at closing? Do you want to?
So you guys are like a doctor. This is, I
Bedside
heard you.
manner,
I heard
right?
you
Yeah.
talking. That's right. So if you walk into a doctor, you love it if the doctor says you're healthy, right? You want them to check everything. You want them to check your eyes. You want them to check your teeth and your hair and your whatever, right? You want them to check everything.
I don't have that issue. They're not
I don't
checking
either,
my,
brother.
They're not
I'm
checking
I'm
my
living
hair.
a lie. So, but you want them to check everything, right? So doctors, you're not. Whenever the customer goes in there, the doctor isn't going, "Ooh, I'm going to find everything wrong that I can with this guy,
Yeah,
so
sure.
that he
Right.
keeps coming back." Right? He's
Right.
going to give you an honest bill of health, and I know that's what you guys do
Sure.
with the house. It's
Sure.
an honest bill of health in the house.
And I love the doctor example because two things. One is, first, we're a generalist, right? We're like your
Right.
your general
Right.
practitioner.
Right.
If there's something wrong with any number of things,
Right.
we're going to recommend that you go see a heart specialist,
Right.
or the
Yeah.
whatever it might be.
Right.
Same thing with the house, and then it's all about how you deliver that information. So we pull permits on every inspection that we do. So I always use the roof as an example. So we pull the permit. We see the roof was 5 years. It's just 5 years old. Okay, great. So we go out there. However, there's this tree that's been rubbing on the front right. It's going to need somebody to take a look at it.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's not where you start that conversation
Right.
with the buyer. Because remember, the buyer's already putting out X amount for the house,
Right.
X amount for an appraisal, X amount for closing. So the last thing they want to hear is another X amount, and then they stop listening.
Yeah.
Right.
So for us, it's make sure we deliver the message. Hey, we pulled the permit. Roof is only 5 years old. You've got X amount of time left on it. So let's now talk about the roof. So it's really good shape. However, up in the front right, there's been some rubbing. You're going to get that tree trimmed. You also might want to have a roofer come out and take a look to make sure that those shingles or whatever it is, don't have too much wear and tear. But again, overall, the roof is in really good condition.
Yeah.
So you just make sure that you're delivering the information, because we are not hiding anything from a buyer, but we're making sure we're delivering it in a way that they don't get lost in their own mind of, because if I started with, hey, something's wrong with the front right of the roof,
Yeah.
Right. They don't hear anything.
They didn't hear
Right.
that the rest of it's fine, and they've got 15 years or 20 years or 25 years left on it.
Right.
They started calculating in their mind.
Yeah.
Is that a $500 fix? Is that a $5,000 fix? Is that a brand new roof that I need to get? So you got to make sure that when you deliver the information, you deliver it in a way that they can follow.
And that's accurate.
Right.
I mean, the reality is it's a big roof. The
Yeah.
rest of the roof is in great shape.
95% of it is really,
So-
really good.
Right, but so people want to tend to gravitate towards that negative piece.
Here's something that's really easy for us real estate people to do, is brush over the fact that the consumer has been through as many transactions as we've been through, right? Has been through as many inspections as you've seen. So it's easy for somebody to go ahead and assume that type of role, but you really got to take a step back and go, my God, this is this person's first house. This is their third house ever.
Well,
right?
I use
So-
myself as an example. I'm 45 years old, and I've bought one house.
Yeah.
Right.
So whenever I make sure that we're communicating, I use that same mentality. Just because I'm in home inspections, if I were buying that house, I would freak out.
Yeah.
Right.
I'd be like, okay, never mind. I don't have that budgeted, or I didn't.
Right.
I want that perfect house that I can move in and not have to do anything to. It's probably not out there,
Yeah.
because even new homes, we do a lot of pre-listing inspection.
And there's a lot, yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely.
or pre-drywall inspections, I should say,
Yeah.
just to make sure that, people getting a second opinion that the
Yeah.
builder's doing all of the right type of things. So so I always put myself in that position from, okay, I'm a rookie
huge.
when it comes to buying a home.
It is.
That's huge.
How would we make sure that we would communicate any of those issues to me? And if you can't communicate it to me, then I don't want you communicating it to any buyer, and whether they're buying
Right.
their 15th
100%,
house
yep.
or their first house.
But I think everyone along this process needs to have that same. It starts with the real estate agent, then the inspector. The lender needs to be on that same path. The appraiser needs to be on that same path, and so does the title person doing all of that. Because at any one point, there is a panic person in that scenario. It can send the entire deal into a spiral
Yep.
for no reason.
Sure.
Yep.
Sure. And not every house is the same. You could, we talked about an experienced home buyer, but you buy something in Northeast St. Pete that's a 1925
bungalow.
home.
Right.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Right.
That's a 1925 bungalow. It is not the same as buying something up in, Palm Harbor that's, in the 80s or whatever
Yeah.
it might be. Totally different. And so, so it's about communications.
Yep.
Really cool.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Now, so you went over the fact that you have volleyball practice, softball practice. What else?
You name it, I'm in it.
All the
Right.
above. What I'm particularly obsessed with, and I know Matt's on that same page, is the idea of being able to have a work-life balance. How do you schedule your day to run a big operation like Rock Solid Home Inspections and be the father of the year and the husband of the year all at the same time?
So, talked about my customer service rep. I have a great general manager in Dawn Perkins. Our marketing rep, Deanne, is outstanding. Our certified master inspector, Vito, helps on the technical side. I have the right team in place to make sure that I'm allowed to take that 2
Right.
hours to go
Right.
out and work with,
Right.
12, 13, 14-year-old girls on their batting stance and their throwing motion and,
Right.
other things like that. So it's about having the right team in place, and which goes back to what you had just talked about earlier from a realtor standpoint is make your life easier by having the right team in place around you. And
Yeah.
hopefully, for a lot of them, it is Rock Solid Home Inspections as that partner.
Right.
Because again, I always tell people that just because I was on a podcast doesn't mean that I want your business. I want the opportunity to earn your business. Give me
Right.
one shot, and if I can't fulfill my promise, then that's on me.
Right.
I earn your business, and I've always told people if they don't choose me, that's my fault.
Yeah.
That's nobody else's fault, because it doesn't always come down to price. Like you said, you can get a $100 inspection. Well, you get what you pay
Right.
for.
Sure.
Just like anything else in life, you get what you pay for.
Right.
So if you give me the opportunity and then I don't earn it, that's not on the seller, that's not on the buyer, it's not on the buyer's agent, not on the seller's agent. It's on me. What did I not do right?
Right.
And that's the mentality I take into it to make sure that we're delivering on our value statement.
I think the people who
It's a high
really,
level of accountability. That's awesome.
Yeah, and it's on purpose,
Right.
right?
Intentional,
So there's a clear path that you have paved for yourself, and that's the mission. People who either can't handle a schedule or are lopsided completely in terms of their personal life or their professional life really either weigh this as more important at that time or not.
Right.
But really, I think that driving home idea is you're on purpose, right? You know your plan, you know your mission, and this is what it is, right?
And for me, it's, that whole work-life balance is I'm working so I can have a life, and I'm having a life because I'm working.
Right.
And so as long as I can continue to drive that,
Right.
it was funny. I was talking to our customer service representative on the way over, and we're like, oh, it's Friday.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
in all honesty, Friday doesn't
Yeah.
really mean much to me
Yeah.
because the phone rolls to my personal cell phone
Right.
on Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah.
Because
You hear that, folks?
Right. Yeah.
you call the office, option one, if you're ordering an inspection, rolls to my personal cell phone because I can do that from my cell phone.
Right.
Option two is, if you
What
have
time
any-
does it click over?
From 8 to 8.
Okay, so like
8
9
oh-
o'clock tonight when I have a couple beers.
No. Okay, I'm
It's
sorry.
time to call.
Yeah. No. I'm sorry. Let me rephrase that. From 8 to 8, it does roll to
Oh,
my
got
cell.
it.
You call it 9. You call it 9. You're getting the message at the office.
Damn it.
I know, right? So close. So close.
7:59.
Sorry. I mean,
Hey,
real
Steven.
estate. Yeah, real
What's
estate's
up, buddy?
24/7, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you've
You know
got a
it.
buyer, you've got a
You know
seller,
it.
you've got to take care of them in the best way possible. So again, if I can add value to you and give you some opportunity, now you called at 9 o'clock. Guess what? I'm that type of person that's still checking the email before I
Yeah.
go to
Oh,
bed.
yeah.
So I
Yeah,
would have
yeah.
seen you would have called. I may shoot you a text.
Yeah.
Hey, Justin, saw that you called. Something
Right.
you need right now, or can we talk about it in the morning?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's customer service.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean,
that's
that's-
adding value, like
that's
you've
what we
said
try and
several times.
deliver.
Adding value the whole time, making sure that communication is not the last thing that's happening; it's the first thing that's
Right.
happening.
And again, I talked earlier about my general manager, Dawn. So in a couple weeks, we're going to Chicago. So the phone will roll to her.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, and, we try and make sure that we cover each other.
Right.
So we're all able to have that work-life balance.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
It's refreshing too.
It
I
is.
mean, it really.
Well, and he's saying that everybody's covering everybody so that bases aren't not covered, right? So it's not like the entrepreneur
Who's got
that's doing
first?
everything.
Who's on first, right?
Who on first or what's on first?
Yeah, exactly.
Here's the most interesting part about that. So by creating that business by design, and what you're doing is you're allowing yourself more family time and leveraging your time for the better, right? But the trickle down effect with that is that all of his employees
That's right.
and all of his managers and everyone is way more empowered, right? So there is a definitely, like, there are many aspects of that that are just so positive that people don't realize that when they try to hold on to something and squeeze it because it's my baby and this is how I'm going to run it, you're not empowering the people that are there with you. But everyone that works for you, and I know this for sure, are fucking thrilled.
Right, they are. But they're all on the same page with what they're trying to accomplish for the customer, because they all feel equally responsible because they know they're supposed to be supporting the whole.
Right, and there's a trust factor there. You know, I mean, I was a great manager of mine a long time ago said that you have my trust until you show me that you shouldn't. I didn't have to earn his trust. I was put in the position that I was holding at that time. He's like, you have that position for a reason.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm going to, you know, and I know the people that hired you, and I know the people that ran it before I got here, so I trust you.
Right.
You're good.
Right.
Just continue to do what you do.
Right.
And I have
Uphold
that
that.
same
Yeah.
mentality with my inspectors. You know, Lenny and the team brought them on for a good reason.
Yeah.
Continue to do your job, and you've got my full 100% faith and trust until you don't.
Right.
See, Jocko Willink, he's a Navy SEAL. He does a podcast that's a really good podcast. But he consistently, I would say in every podcast, talks about this trust factor. But what he calls it in military terms is decentralized command.
Okay.
Right? Because everyone thinks of the military as a centralized command. This is where you're going to get your voice and go do your thing. But if you do the decentralized command with all of your men and all of your players, all of a sudden, real good stuff starts to happen. So that decentralized command is definitely that trust.
Yeah. And you know, that's one of the things that I try and I make sure that the guys totally and girls, but the guys, particularly the inspectors, really understand is you're trained, you have the technical side, you have the ability, you have the experience. Go show how great you are.
Yeah. So, I mean, you've already grown Rock Solid, you know, to new heights, and I know that
To a rock solid place.
Yeah,
There we
exactly.
go. Yeah, I like that.
But Lenny and his father did a great job before. What does the future look like for you? What do you want to see happen with Rock Solid? I mean, are things so great right now that you're good with this? Or
No, I'm always about growth. So a couple of things that I would like to continue to do is continue to have an influence in the area, continue to grow our brand here, continue to add new value. Last year we added sewer scope. At the end of the year, we added thermal imaging to every home inspection we do. So we do not charge for that. It comes with it.
Right.
So again, it's about adding value. We added the online ordering. We added the app. So all that was growth last year. This year is really, so I have a saying every year. Last year was be better today than you were yesterday.
Right.
And this year is intention for perfection.
Right.
So we did all of this growth last year. Well, now we need to make sure that we're delivering on that each and every day. You're never going to be perfect. But if you have the intention to be perfect, you'll be a lot better than you were if you just went out there and said, I'm just shooting darts and see wherever they land.
Yeah, how do we
Yeah, so that was kind of our focus. And so long term, what I would love to be able to do is, they're not franchises, but I would like to work with, so Sarasota Manatee is a great example. So I have a marketing person down there, and I want him to grow it, and then I'm going to give him a 5-year option to go ahead and buy out Sarasota Manatee. I want to give other people the opportunity that I had through my 26 years and my wife's hard work as well of being able to buy my own business. I want to give them a chance to grow it and then have it as their own. So I would love to do that. Sarasota Manatee, Lakeland, Orlando, Ocala, the villages, areas here, help them grow it, support them for those 5 years, and then give them the option to the ability to kind of be their own boss.
Well, you know, we have a bunch of connections in those places.
Love to.
As you're trying to open those doors, talk to us because we know.
Okay,
a bunch
awesome.
Of folks.
You know, and one other thing that we kind of talked about my 2 sayings last year, and one that I always have is one that drives me crazy is that failure is not an option.
Yeah.
Failure's going to happen. So what do you do with that failure? Do you learn? You know, so tell the same thing to the softball team. If she just struck you out on a changeup or a fastball, you know, did you see the pitch? Are you going to improve the next time you got up there? Now, if you don't take anything from that failure, that is when there's true failure.
Yeah.
You know, you don't learn anything just from winning every time. You've got to learn from the losses.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I think that if you're not failing, you're truly not pushing the
limits.
envelope or trying to grow.
You're staying in a very comfortable place.
It's like, oh, that's great that you know, you're 10 out of 10 batter.
Right.
You're batting 1,000%, but
But
that tee
go-
is just
But you're hitting off.
standing
Yeah,
there.
yeah, yeah.
Right, but
You
move
know?
to another league.
Yeah, right. You're
It's
still
time
in
to step
T-ball.
up.
You're 31 and you're on T-ball. You're scaring the kids.
You have been since you were 12.
Yeah. He's an all-star on the T-ball team for 30 years in a row.
He's got his little ribbons and medals. Yeah, he's good to
Walks
go.
out with the bat.
Look at you, kid. I'm coming at you.
Everyone's like, oh my God. That's so funny. Well, I mean, this, to me, Matt, I mean, this is.
Oh yeah, so aligned, so well aligned with what we do and what we talk about every day on the podcast with the folks that we deal with and the agents that we want to get the most out of this. This is what they need to hear. They need to hear that the home inspectors are looking at it the same exact way. I think the biggest thing that with this for me on this, and I knew this, and that's why we're happy that you're here, is, you know, having your own business and being an entrepreneur doesn't mean you have to run it like you're the one doing everything. Go ahead and step up and create a team that looks at stuff the way that you do. So that way the agents that you're dealing with aren't getting the corners cut on what could happen with the great home inspector. They're getting full service from you. They're getting a lot of value because they are dealing with your general manager. They are dealing with the guy that can look at the inspections while the other guy is doing the inspections, while the owner is involved in what's going on with the relationship with the agents. That there's training going on constantly of how to have these conversations with people. It's not just Matt out there with a ladder doing inspections. Not that there's anything wrong with that, right? But it's more than that. And so whenever an agent has the opportunity to deal with somebody that looks at things that way, again, how do you not sit down with your seller and your buyer and explain in depth, here's what can be available to you long before it's time for the home inspection.
Right.
In my opinion, if I'm working with a buyer, initial conversations, I'm having them call you before we find a house.
Yeah.
Take 5 minutes to say, here's how I run my inspections. Here's what I'm going to do when you find the house. Let's do it. You'd love to have that opportunity, right? And at that point, the consumer feels really comfortable with what's coming.
Yeah.
Instead of just, okay, now we have to have the inspection and think, what's going to happen with the inspection?
Right.
That way it's all dealt with.
Right, and like you said, so not everybody is a veteran at buying homes. So
Yeah.
a lot of these that don't know that process, to have that somebody walk through, hey, what exactly is a 4-point? We get that question a lot of time. What exactly is a 4-point inspection or a wind mitigation? Why do I need those?
Right.
You don't want to send your insurance company the full home inspection report. I promise you that.
Yeah.
So that's why you need these.
Right.
You know, so just little things like that education is really huge.
And it's before they need it though. That's the key thing. That's what agents should get in their head is.
Well, and your inspection period's only so long.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Oh
if
my
they're going to
gosh.
take 2 or 3 days to interview inspection companies and yours is a 7-day window, you just lost 2 or 3
Everything.
days.
Right.
Now it's
Right.
going to take a day or
Everything.
two
That's right.
to schedule. You get your report the same day. You're day number 5 and you need a plumber to come out.
Yeah.
Right.
That's a problem.
Yeah, that's a problem.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, the level of service at Rock Solid is just stellar. I mean, it really is. Like, I could send them an email or call them, and it's just like right away.
Right.
I mean, a perfect example of this is my little brother just bought his first home, right? So, that was refreshing for me in terms of
I think
sharpening.
I took that order for you. I think I actually talked to you on that one. I think you called on a weekend or after hours.
I think we did. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. So
That
it
sounds
was,
like Justin.
It was unique. Yeah.
He's like, it's 7:59.
Let's go.
Let me
Almost.
see if he lives up to that promise.
That's right.
But going back to like the whole thing of not everybody's a veteran, I treat some of my clients, I always try to have that in mind, but you're not that great at it because
Right.
it just becomes part of that process. And my brother is asking me these questions and I'm like, oh my God.
How do you not know? Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So, but they're intelligent
Oh, yeah.
questions.
Right.
I mean, and he's a smart guy, but they're things that really don't
He's
pop
the
up in
smart
your
one
mind.
the family. That's what he just said.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
heard
he
that.
definitely is. He'll watch this. He'll be the breadwinner. No, but it was refreshing because I was really trying to sharpen my tools on my
Right.
end.
Yep.
But to have Rock Solid come in and I just know like, all right.
Done. Yeah,
Okay.
that's right.
I know that this is going to get taken care of, and there's not going to be anything when he closes on the house. It's like, hey, dude, you missed 2 fucking bedrooms,
Right. You miss cloth wiring going into a panel box.
And that's a great example. The scope of work by InterNACHI standards, and that's who we're all certified for, and even the state, are representative.
Yeah.
You can open up 2 windows, and that could be a representative number of the house. Well, guess which window is broken and doesn't work?
The one that didn't
we
get up
didn't
and-
check.
right. Yeah, that's
So
right.
yes, we open every window when we go through. We check every outlet, even though you need to only check a certain amount of them. I'm willing, and my guys are willing to spend that extra time to make sure
Right.
that, hey, when we left the house,
Yeah.
we knew that 2 outlets were not working, or we knew every outlet was working, or whatever the case may be. Because again, that buyer, we don't want them calling us
Right.
30 days later saying, hey, this window doesn't work. And we don't want our reply to be, well,
Right.
we
We
did
don't-
the minimum that we had to do.
Right.
We're fine. Good luck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We checked the ones we checked worked.
The ones we checked
Right.
worked, right?
Right. Yeah.
There's a lot of people who skate like that by in life. It's what can I do? What's the minimum that I can do to get by?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And that mentality, I think more than anything, drives me absolutely nuts.
And
All
we
right, so-
actually, in our inspection agreement, we actually supply them a link so they can look at what the minimum standards of work are, because we want people to see how
I never knew
we
that.
go past those.
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
I'm not reading the report enough. I guess.
Well, that's the pre-inspection, not the inspection. So
okay.
you probably haven't seen many of those.
All right. All right.
So I keep hitting this team thing. Sorry, just bear with me
No,
for
that's
one more
great.
thing. You keep bringing stuff up. If it is Matt with a ladder home inspections.
Yep.
And I don't have a team surrounding me that looks at them a certain way. If I'm not, so it's a lot more likely from an accountability standpoint that I'm just going to open 2 windows.
Yeah.
That's just, I mean, unfortunately, that's just the way that it is. Because if everybody else, if you're sitting in your sales meeting, your staff meeting, or whatever it is, and everybody else in there, you're talking and you're training and you're doing the things that you need to be doing with them, and they hear and they know that everybody's way above those minimum standards. Somebody that doesn't want to do that doesn't want to be in that environment.
Sure.
They're going to go do their own thing, and you can put somebody in there that does want to do that.
Right.
That's huge. And in my opinion, the agent needs to make sure they're plugging into that environment.
Right.
Completely.
And again, I have nothing wrong with the individual inspector. I mean,
Right.
good for
Yeah.
them.
Completely agree.
Let them
Completely
continue
agree.
what they do, and I'm sure that the majority of them do above
Completely
the minimum.
agree. Completely
But you're
agree.
right. I
Yeah,
mean,
you
so
start somewhere.
you have to figure that if somebody is only charging you $100, they're not going to be there for 3 hours.
Right.
Right.
Because they're basically making $30 an hour.
They're trying to
and
volume
they've got all
pack
the
it.
expenses right. So they're like, look, I can do a 1,500 square foot home for $100. I can do 4 of those a day. Walk out with $400.
Right.
For us, it's look, we're going to deliver a 3-hour inspection that we're
Right.
we're making sure that every piece of the home that we can possibly see. I see some some stuff in front of a window. I might not be able to open that window. I'm not moving somebody's personal properties. Lord knows it's probably great grandma's
Oh, yeah.
cabinet and
her ashes in it.
yeah, and her ashes are in it.
And we don't need that getting
Yeah,
broken.
no, I'm not moving that.
Because
thought
then
you
you
said
vacuum it. And then you
Ash is
vacuum it up. It was a what?
Is this important to you? Doesn't sound like anything's in here, but it's a little heavy.
But your new slogan could be, I could earn your business.
yes, exactly.
That was good. That was quick.
Yeah. URN, gotcha.
Here's a perfect example again. I keep doing this, but I have a buyer who's buying a new construction home in Safety Harbor, right? I call Rock Solid. I say, hey, I really want my buyer to get an inspection done.
Mm-hmm.
What would have been the easy thing for any inspector when they show up to the house and they see a new construction? They're like, cakewalk, money in the bank. I'll be here for just a little bit and head out. What does the inspector do? I meet him there and he's like, hey man, I know this is new construction. He's like, but we're gonna dial this thing in and we're gonna figure it out. What does he come up with? He comes up with, the master shower doesn't drain right. It actually pools in the corner. Common new construction thing.
100%.
Really
Yeah.
common new construction thing. But a little thing right there, right? And we had a little bit of moisture reading on the wall and stuff like that. It would have been the easy way out for him to go,
Oh, yeah.
new construction, I guarantee you they got a 1-year builder warranty on this.
I'm out.
Bye.
Yeah,
Right.
I'm out.
But he
Yeah.
didn't. And guess what? We got all of those things fixed because of your guy.
It was easier on the builder to deal with that then than it would have been for afterwards for them to have to come back and fix everything. Everybody won because he did the right thing on the front end instead of just coming in and coasting through it.
Right.
That's huge.
And that second opinion is in my opinion very important, especially when you're dealing with a new home,
Yeah.
because they just checked 3 or 4 that were perfectly fine. So you just kind of, like we talked about earlier, you just kind of get that mentality that, okay, I'm at this one, it's going to be just like the last 2 or 3 were.
Right.
Yeah.
But each one's a little bit different. There's something that,
Yep.
a little bit extra concrete in that corner
right.
or not enough concrete in that corner, whatever it was that
Right.
made that dip a little bit.
Right.
Now you've got an issue.
Right.
I just thought that was like,
Yeah. That's a
but
great example.
It
Yeah,
really
it's
is.
a very good example,
You
yeah.
go from one end to the other, but I mean that would have been that's the quality that you're getting with these guys, and that's
Yeah.
why I'm happy to call them
That's why
a
I'm sitting here.
teammate.
Well, like
Yeah.
I said, and I'm
Totally
proud
sitting
of the team. It's funny, we get calls and somebody's never used us before, and they're like, "Who's your best inspector?" And I'm like, "They're like your kids. They're
Yeah.
all great,
Right.
So my answer always is they're all great, but let me tell you who gets the most requests or the most
Yeah.
reviews. So I
Right.
push my guys. I'm like, look, you gave a 5-star, inspection. You deserve a 5-star review. Send them tell him to go on and give you one. Because when somebody
Colby's
calls
a good
me,
guy.
Right.
yeah, he's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
He's moving on me.
I know. I
He's
heard.
moving to Massachusetts.
Yeah.
He wants to deal with doing inspections in the wintertime. I don't know what's
Wow.
wrong with that guy.
Idiot.
Wow. leave his chair open.
Exactly right. Yep. So so if you're an inspector out there and want to be inspector, give me a call. I've got to replace Ryan, and I'm gonna miss him. He's really awesome.
Yeah,
he is.
he's been good. Well, parting thoughts. Anything in terms of life, business? What do you want to leave with the people?
Like I said, I just from a business standpoint, just give me an opportunity to earn your business. That's all I could ever really ask.
Yeah.
If I didn't earn your business, supply me the feedback. I can't get better if I don't know what I'm not doing right.
Right.
I mean, a lot of people go through life saying, oh, well, Justin gave me one and I never heard from Justin again.
Right.
Well, there's a reason Justin didn't call you back.
Right.
And sometimes they're afraid to pick up the phone and say, hey, man, what was the deal?
Right.
And on your end, sometimes they're afraid, whatever. Well, if you're an agent and we didn't do the job that we told you we were going to do, guess what? We're going to do that job again for, I think last year we did 2,300 inspections, 2,200 inspections, something like that. So I'm going to do another 2,199 inspections. And if I did something wrong on yours and you didn't let me know what it was, it could happen again
Right.
and again.
That's right.
So
And you don't want that. Yeah.
And I don't want that. I don't want buyers out there not getting the service that I'm telling them that we're going to deliver. So give me a call and let me know what it is.
Yeah.
Don't call me after hours. No, I'm just kidding.
We'll put his cell phone in the comments.
Yeah,
there you
that's
go.
right.
Yeah, right at the
Oh, he's
bottom.
getting those calls.
Yeah, right. So yeah, that's my thing is, like I said, I just want to. I'm all about growth. I was at an event, and I know it's not Lou Holt who coined this phrase, but if you're not growing, you're dying.
Right.
And so I totally took that to heart, and I said each and every day I want to grow in something that I do. I want to grow the people around me. That's why I do the volunteering that I do. That's why I felt like being a business owner was the right thing to do, because I can help people be better. That's why when you ask me what my goal is, it's to expand markets, to give somebody else the opportunity to be a business owner.
Have you read the book Atomic Habits? We talk about this book about every podcast, but you would love it.
it's a great book.
It's about continually getting better. It's 1% increments, just little detail stuff. So Atomic Habits by James Clear, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
But
I'll have
Very
to
good
check
book.
it out.
What's your favorite book?
Not out of the library.
no.
No.
What's your favorite book?
The Bible.
What's your next favorite book?
Good answer.
I know, right?
Yeah.
I thought I was off the hook on that one. I thought I was on his Lent season. I mean, what else could I say?
Yeah.
I have to be honest. I'm not a big book reader.
Yeah.
So
He's a podcast guy.
I'm a podcast guy.
Good.
I'm
like
a
that.
get out and volunteer type guy. So I'm one of those, probably not few, but I'm maybe one of the few that admits it. I'm just not a big book reader. I don't take the time to just sit and read.
How about any shows? You into any shows right now? If I'm not reading or if I'm not doing something outside or whatever, I'm on
there's
Netflix
a couple,
or
There's
something.
a couple of things that my wife and I watch together. We watch This Is Us.
Okay,
we watch
yeah.
Million Little Things. Prodigal Son on Fox. Have you seen that
no,
one?
I haven't heard of that one.
His dad's a psychopath, and so
He's a detective. Yeah.
Yeah, and so he's a.
Oh, you've
he's-
seen it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so he tries to get through the mind of them, and I actually really like that one.
Yeah.
It's new, and I've really enjoyed that one. And then we've been watched a bunch of things. So.
Yeah. Cool.
But yeah, so those are the ones that we make sure that we either get on the DVR and then anytime I get a chance to watch sports, I'm taking that up too.
Right.
Oh yeah.
So
Oh yeah.
professional. So I'm not a big college guy. Being from Western New York, Syracuse was close. And by the time I moved down here, I was already into all the pro sports. So I was just.
So you're
focusing
still
on-
a Bills guy, even though we got the wonderful Buccaneers. I'm in just as much misery as a Bills fan.
I know, right? No,
Effing
you
Bucks.
got a Super Bowl win.
0-2. Yeah.
And my team hadn't been to one since 1994, if I had to remember correctly. So.
Yeah, that was a good year.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
but that's the thing. You forget how that one Super Bowl ring. You know what a Bills fan would do for one Super Bowl ring?
Things we cannot talk about on
That's
here.
right. Yeah. This podcast, they did tell me there's only certain things I could talk about. And I had to stay away from
And
other
that's
subjects.
not one of
And
them.
that's not one of them. So
How can people get in touch with you?
give us a call at 727-408-1088. Again, 8:30 till 5:30. Aiden's in the office helping take care of you. From 5:30 to 8, option 1 rolls to my cell phone if you want to book an order. Option 2 will roll to the office. But again, I am guilty of checking them. If I'm able to be at a computer and handle the inquiry, I typically do. If I'm not, it'll roll to the next morning. Website, www.rocksolidhomeinspections.org. Somebody stole it up in Tennessee, the .com. So we have to go with the .org.
I like the .org.
I know. It's a little different, right?
It is.
Well, it is kind of a charity because he's got to pay for University of
I
Tampa.
do.
That's right.
I do. Yeah. So again,
big
make sure
charity.
every time you call, a portion of those proceeds go to University of Tampa.
We're gonna make T-shirts and stuff.
But I'm still actually paying for UCF. So right now, a little's going to UCF, and then in the future, a little goes to the University of Tampa.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
We're gonna start a GoFundMe account.
That's right. That's right.
Oh man. Well, thank you so much.
Hey man, I appreciate you
Yeah.
guys having me on.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
Absolutely.
It was my first podcast.
Yep.
I hope that nobody fell asleep. I mean, my bat's not over, but I think I did stay, you know,
Yeah.
with just my 2 strikes.
Yeah,
I
I
think
think so.
you're good.
Okay,
You did bring one of them back up.
I fouled it off.
You
all right.
did. You fouled it
Okay,
off.
all
That's
right. I stayed alive.
As always, like, comment, subscribe, share.
Absolutely.
Especially on this one, there's going to be so much value for so many people
no
out there
doubt.
on this
Yeah,
podcast.
no doubt.
So
If you're not out there getting your buyers in touch with him before they go on the inspection, so that he can get them moving in the right direction, you're missing out.
Makes your life easier.
It does.
And if I can-
Everybody wins.
If I can drop an advertisement real quick. So we talked about baseball. Again, I'm a huge sports fan. We always do something interesting when it comes to promotions. So for the month of March, we're offering 19.13% off of our packages.
I have no idea what that's for.
All right. So 1913 was the first spring training in Tampa by the Chicago Cubs.
Oh, nice.
See? So like last year we did, obviously July 4th was 17.74.
Right.
It was
Okay,
for
yeah.
Independence Day. And I think America was like 246 years old, so we offered 24.6% off. So we always try and do something
Cool.
just a little interesting. So our packages are, our comfort package is a full home inspection, a 4-point in wind, and either a air quality mold test or a sewer scope.
Right.
And you'll get 19.13% off on those. Our sleep well package is all of them included in it. And so it's a very comprehensive inspection for you and your buyers.
We'll get some information out about that. We'll
Yeah,
get it,
perfect.
We'll get you connected and get it on the page.
Okay,
Yeah.
awesome.
Appreciate you, man.
Cool.
Yeah, no worries.
Okay,
Thank you for
thanks.
having me.
All right. Peace.
Peace.